So, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda and this is Birch and Lily, where I talk about all of the crafty goodness that I've been up to over the past couple weeks. Today is a little bit different of a video. I am here to show you how to get prepared and start using magic loop for knitting your socks. I have already cast on some stitches using the German twisted cast on my needle here. I am using the Chiaogu red lace circular needles. These are 3.75 millimeters, and these are 32 inches or 80 centimeters long. Usually my preference for knitting socks is a 2.25 or US 1 needle with a 100 centimeter or 40 inch cable. I find that's the best way for me to avoid getting ladders up the side of my socks or like splitting loose stitches, things like that. But I'm not using that today because I am using a DK white yarn to make this a little bit easier for all of you to see. So let's jump on in. Like I said, I have cast on some stitches here on my needle with the German twisted cast on. I have my tail in the front and my working yarn that comes off of the ball here in the back. What I'm going to do to get ready to do magic loop is pull all these stitches to the middle of my cable. So they're here now. My cast on edge is off on the left, and I'm going to split these stitches evenly. Sometimes you can't split them evenly, obviously, but preference is to be able to if you can. So I have 24 stitches cast on my needle here, so I need 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm going to catch that 12th stitch here and hold it in my hands. And I literally bend it in between the two and grab my cable and pull. So now I've got this little bit of a loop here. I want to make sure that I don't twist my stitches because that will cause me a big issue. So usually what I'll do is I'll fold them flat like this and pinch them really tight and pull so that all the stitches are up on my needle and ready to go. And I'll push them up like that. I'll do that again one more time for you just in case you need to see it again. So I have all the stitches that I've cast on here. My tail is in the front and my working yarn coming off of the ball is in the back. I'm going to count to halfway through my stitches. I'm going to pinch that stitch there that is right where halfway is, and you kind of fold your cable so that it creates that little loop in the middle, and then you want to pull it up some. And then what I do is fold these stitches so that the insides are together and pinch them real tight so that I don't accidentally twist my stitches. If you do twist your stitches, all of your knitting will be kind of twisted in a loop, which is called a Mobius. And you do not want that for a pair of socks. So push those up on my needle and get them ready to knit, which can always be fun with your first row of your cast on. So now, since I've done that, my tail has ended up in the back and my working yarn in the front. You want to be sure that you do not grab your tail and start knitting with your tail because that's going to cause, obviously, an issue. So I'll usually take my tail and pop it up and through here. I am a continental style knitter, so if you are an English knitter, this may be a little bit confusing. I cannot, for the life of me, knit English, so hopefully this still helps you. But anyways, I'm holding my yarn in my hand now. It's in between the two. And if you notice, the working yarn is coming off of the back needle. You don't want it coming off of the front. To start knitting in the round, I don't do anything special. I am not sure if other people do, but this has always worked for me. So all I'm going to do, I have my two needles here. I'm going to pull the back needle out. And as you can see, this is always really awkward when you're first starting and connecting, but those back stitches that were on the back needle are just resting on the middle of this cable now. So all you're going to do is start knitting. So I'll knit across all 12 of these stitches on my needle. And try not to bang the needles into the table too much because I feel like that would annoy me. Seems that's not going to be possible. That's okay. Okay, so I have knit my final stitch here. I'm going to drop the needle I was knitting with, pinch the yarn here so it doesn't accidentally fall off, and grab that back cable and pull it back through those stitches that were resting on the back. And you literally turn your work and do the exact same thing all over again. I have my 2 needles here. I pull out the back one. Those back stitches are now resting on the cable, and I start knitting. Now you'll see, because I didn't do anything special to link the 2 yarns together at the beginning, it's a little loose here. That's totally fine. All you have to do is grab your tail end and yank it tight. And once you get a little bit further in your knitting, it won't pull apart like this anymore and you'll be totally fine. And you just weave in this end and close the gap when you're done. So I have knit all the way across that row. Again, I'm going to grab the back cable and pull it all the way through. And I'm going to flip my work so that the needles are pointing to the right again. So once again, we'll do one more round. I grab my working yarn, I flip my needles like this so I can see and grab the back one. Make sure you hold tight onto your stitches on the back so that you don't accidentally pull them off. I'm going to flip that needle around and start knitting. Now, if you were doing, obviously, the cuff for a pair of socks, you would most likely be doing a pattern such as a knit 2 purl 2 or a knit 1 purl 1, something like that. Sorry, that dropped really loud. But I'm just doing knitting right now, so it's easy to show. So I finished this row. I'm going to turn it, pinch everything nice and tight, and pull this needle back through. Flip my work, and I'm ready to keep going. So we will pull out this back needle here, grab my working yarn, tension it, and start knitting. Now I'm just going to lay this down halfway through this so you can kind of see what the cable does when you're using magic loop. So you have your 2 needles that you're working with, and then the cable just comes around and holds the other half of your stitches on the back there. So for me, I find this a lot easier than using, say, DPNs, mostly because it's a lot harder for me to accidentally drop a stitch. The cable holds everything on really well, and I don't find it awkward or fiddly at all. It's very, very simple. And the other nice thing is if I keep around a whole bunch of needles with a really long cable, I don't have to have a 16-inch or a 32-inch or all these things. Most of my needles are honestly a 40-inch cable, 100 centimeters, and I just magic loop everything that I knit in the round, and it's easy. So let me finish this row. Drop my needle, pinch everything real tight, and pull it through, flip it, and I'm ready to start going again. The one thing with magic loop that you cannot do, obviously, is mark your beginning of a round with a stitch marker, as it'll fall off. But usually I just make sure that my tail is always on this side here on the right, and that marks my beginning of the round. So hopefully magic loop now makes sense to all of you. I hope this was helpful. Always, if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask me down below, and I'll be happy to try and help you out the best I can. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you learned something new that will make your knitting a little bit easier and a little bit more enjoyable. And yeah, if you liked what I showed you today, please consider subscribing and hitting the like button. That does help me out a lot. And I will see you all next time. Bye!